Afternoon. So welcome to our webinar today. It's an interesting one, certainly for me, which is how to optimize for the future SEO, AI overviews, and conversational search. So for those that don't know me, I'm Luke. I am Head of Digital Optimisation at Modo25. Been doing this for around 10 years now, but specifically looking at SEO for 5 of those. I'll pass you over and introduce you to my co-host today. So, Rena, do you want to introduce yourself? And then we'll pass you on to Kylie afterwards.
Yeah, thank you, Luke, and hello everyone. I'm Rena. I've been recently appointed as Head of SEO at Modo25. And yes, I'm excited to talk to you all about SEO and how we can optimize for future.
Good stuff. And Kylie?
Yeah, I'm Kylie, SEO Account Manager at Modus 25. So yeah, just working with Rena and Luke definitely on looking at all this new AI stuff that's about at the minute.
Good stuff. So I guess from today, we've got a half an hour booked in. We can go over if there is a couple of questions. But I guess the main things that we want to discuss from an agenda point of view are to clarify how AI search differs from traditional search. It's a question that we get asked an awful lot. Secondly, we want to then follow up with exploring how LLMs actually read or interpret your sites. Again, this is something that we're seeing quite a few websites falling foul of at this moment in time. And then thirdly, obviously just understanding optimization signals for both on and off site. So they're hopefully the three things that you'll learn today from us. I'll pass you over to Kylie to discuss the difference between SEO and GEO, or what we get asked a lot, Kylie. So over to you.
Yeah, so just to kind of set the scene, as I'm sure everyone that's joined this webinar will be aware as well, there's been so much chatter throughout, I guess, the whole of this year about what this new phenomenon that is AI search is and what to call it. And there's so many acronyms about at the minute: GEO, AEO, AIO, generative search, this, that, and the other. And everyone's kind of forgetting about SEO. It comes across, as SEOs, we hate to hear this because it implies that SEO is dying once again, and that comes back every few years. And SEO is no longer a thing, something completely separate, and thinking we need to rebrand the whole thing. Whereas in reality, there's just so many crossovers. We believe it should be seen as a very similar thing. And we're wanting to come to you on this webinar, I guess, to show you why your current SEO strategy is not redundant because of this new AI thing, but to show you kind of the differences and similarities between the two. So, just for the purposes of this, we will stick with GEO. We'll stick with that acronym for the webinar. But just to explain some of the differences and similarities between it at the minute. So, traditional SEO, obviously what we've all known for years, kind of aiming for these blue links that we've all been used to, optimizing for the search engine visibility and getting those blue links, measuring this in terms of rankings, clicks through to site, and ultimately the traffic driven through users clicking on those blue links. And measuring success has been a case of like aiming to rank number one, basically. So again, to do this, like we're doing keyword first content planning, it's been very keyword by keyword for each page, eager to gain backlinks to pass page rank. Whereas with optimizing for AI search, this is much more about not optimizing for search engine visibility in terms of the link on the page, but trying to be mentioned by or cited by the LLMs and the AI search bots. New measures of success are kind of not the rankings and the traffic, etc. we've seen, but sometimes just looking at more figures such as brand awareness, kind of our share of voice in these LLMs, and the citations that we're getting pulled in for. Our focus isn't about kind of getting our content to be shown all the time, but influencing the AI responses and looking at how we can do that, from what content can we put on there to help influence this, and how else can we shape the answer that they're providing rather than them just showing a link straight to our content. It's more intent and entity driven rather than a single keyword. I mean, traditional SEO was moving away from this anyway, and I'd become more topic focused, but very much more so with Geo. And then also just touching on the backlinks, it's not always about the backlink, I guess, for GEO. A mention without a link can still be very valuable in terms of optimizing for AI search, because it's just getting your name out there in the web. But if we go on to the next slide, this Venn diagram obviously does highlight the overlap between those. So I've just gone over kind of some key differences, but you can see that the middle section here is very busy with all the stuff we were all already doing for traditional SEO, what's already in all of our roadmaps for SEO success that we're all in the middle of working on. And this will all be helping towards AI search visibility as well. So we don't need a completely separate strategy for this. We obviously just need to be able to add certain things to our existing SEO roadmaps to make them apply for GEO as well. So again, looking down the right-hand side, this would be just grouping keyword recommendations into those kind of wider topics and entity focuses. Again, as we said, SEO was kind of moving to that itself, but more so needed for AI search. Looking at different ways we can distribute the content that we're creating on site across kind of other platforms. So again, Google's looking between all these different platforms on the internet for where it can pull information from. So we want to make sure we're not just focused on our on-site content, but also where we can share that. Ensuring the content on the page is very well structured. Again, something that we were doing for SEO anyway, but just trying to make sure it's even easier for an AI crawler to kind of scan and understand at just that scanning level without reading the whole thing to easily interpret. And then finally, just a note on JavaScript. So again, it was always kind of traditional SEO advice until more recently to get all your JavaScript content out and into the HTML anyway. But I think over time, like Google and search engines had got better at reading and indexing JavaScript content. However, with AI crawlers, it appears that they've kind of gone back and they're not very good at being able to read and understand this JavaScript content. So again, better to be safe. Let's just kind of try avoid that where possible and look for alternative ways that we can show that. So if we go to the next slide, the question that we keep getting asked kind of by prospects we're speaking to, by our clients, seeing it come up on LinkedIn, everyone's asking, should we switch focus and move away from Google? Our answer is definitely no. This diagram, we've taken this one from a coalition agency, but there's multiple like this available on different research pieces at the minute that you'll see on Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, etc. And it just shows just how big Google's market share is compared with other search engines that we've got on there. So the likes of Bing, Yandex, DuckDuckGo that have been there for a while. But we can see LLMs creeping in here too. So we can see ChatGPT coming in there third. However, there's no disputing that Google does still sit with nearly 90% of all traffic. So I guess the point of this is if you're deciding where to focus your resources amongst the most popular search engines in your preparation for 2026 planning at the minute, Google does remain top of the list, and any others that we're looking to optimize for will always be rooted in kind of a strong consideration for Google first. A lot of them do use the same kind of things that they're looking at, and even LLMs kind of using information from Google to decide who they're going to serve. So it's definitely not a switch completely away from Google. It's a let's consider these others as well, but with a primary focus on Google for us at the minute. So if we go to the next slide, this is obviously met with our advice to continue focusing on Google. It's met with a lot of claims that AI search and LLMs are expected to overtake traditional search very soon in the near future. I mean, this study, I think, is from a SEMrush study, expected to overtake search by 2028. That seems quite soon for us, to be honest, and we think it's quite unlikely given the data on the last slide that we just ran through. It is obviously they are growing in popularity, but this isn't going to be an overnight shift. It is going to take a while to come in. So in this period. We're starting to consider all these other platforms, but we're definitely not forgetting about Google right now. So on the next slide, I just wanted to take a second to explain the differences between kind of what we're referring to when we say LLMs versus like Google's AI overview and AI mode platforms. Because a lot of people use these terms interchangeably. I myself can be guilty of this in conversations, but they are kind of two very different things. So with kind of AI overviews, AI mode, AI overviews are the summaries that appear at the top of Google's existing search pages. So users are seeing these by default when you're just going to do your normal Google search. Obviously, that's the default search on so many phones and apps. So people are seeing these without even wanting to, without asking to see them. They're just being shown them. Whereas with LLMs, kind of a user has to know about them and navigate to them first to actually search within them. So AI overviews are also pulling information from kind of top ranking pages within Google search, responding to the user queries that are being put in there, and using search history to form their answers. Whereas LLMs are generating responses based on the prompts that users are putting in. Depending on which one, they're based on kind of pre-trained data and limited browsing. Obviously, this depends. There's always a paid version now with a lot of these new LLMs. So it really depends what kind of model you're using as to where that data gets cut off, whether you're on the free version or a paid one. And more recently with AI overviews now, there's now AI mode, which is a completely separate tab within Google that you can often click at the bottom of an AI overview to kind of expand on the answer in a different tab. And the last part in LLMs is just they are relying on a lot of different sources at the minute, and each one kind of has its own favoured sources that it pulls information from. So again, quite a few different studies going on at the minute. But whereas Gemini might favour Reddit, YouTube, and Amazon content, ChatGPT is being found to be highly favouring Google's content at the minute. So again, these are often changing, and there's a lot of different studies about them at the minute, but just something that we're always keeping on top of and reading the latest updates on. So the common problem that we're seeing from all of this, I guess, and I'm talking specifically about AI overviews at the minute, is kind of this AI overview effect that I've called it, where Search Console is reporting clicks are dropping. This is common across kind of a lot of industries, across a lot of our clients, seeing year-on-year click drops at the minute when we're just looking site-wide, as this new AI overview is being put there at the top of the page, and users have no reason now to click off of the SERP for an answer. So it was coined as the alligator effect for a while, I think in that kind of screenshot that you can see at the top, because you can see the gap between clicks and impressions widening as impressions continue to soar, as the content's gaining more visibility, being shown in the AI overview right at the top of the page. But we're now getting less and less clicks because users don't need to go any further than that SERP to get their answer. This has changed a little bit very recently, obviously after Google recently made their parameter change to cause impressions drops at the minute. But yeah, this was a trend that we were seeing up until a couple of months ago across a lot of our clients. So it's informational content that's heavily affected by this. Very common for blogs to be responsible for the drop. And I guess this causes a lot of site owners that we're speaking to and market managers to kind of question what's the value in creating this informational content then? Like, this is no longer getting us clicks or traffic. Even if we're getting traffic, it isn't converting. I mean, that kind of takes us down another rabbit hole if we start talking about that. But going back to should we be creating the informational content, I guess this depends. If your goal is to be shown within AI search, our answer is absolutely. As kind of, again, a lot of recent studies, such as one off Search Engine Land, where I've got this stat from, showing that 88% of Google AI overviews are being shown to target informational queries. So yes, you might not be getting the clicks that you were before, but it's having a different benefit in terms of you getting that visibility within AI search and getting the referrals from there. So I guess the answer to this is, if your goal is to be shown within AI search, absolutely don't be put off creating informational content just because clicks are showing to be down at the minute. It's definitely having kind of other benefits despite this effect.
Yeah, thanks, Kylie. And I think what's really interesting and one of the benefits that we have as an agency is Ask Bosco. So we have all this anonymized data that we can really understand and crunch. So these are just some of the things that we can see in terms of what's actually happening with our clients' data. And what's really interesting is we always look at the PPC versus SEO and the two brothers and sisters that are fighting with one another. But when we pull them together, this was a slide that Dan, our director of agency, shared at Brighton SEO San Diego. But what you can see there is that the click-through rates, as Kylie mentioned, are decreasing because of zero click. But what we are seeing is that our conversion rates are a lot better. So we can see that the organic conversion rate there across all our clients in Ask Bosco is just under 5%, which is absolutely fantastic. Whereas we can see that paids are, well, virtually half of that. What is, however, interesting as well is there is a lot more of a smaller sample size with ChatGPT, but what we can see from that perspective is roughly around just under 1% of all sessions in Ask Bosco. But what's actually really interesting is the actual click-through rate. So the click-through rates there are really, really small. And that's kind of ties into what Kylie was mentioning before as well, around that 0.01% click-through rate. So there's a lot of brand mentions that we're seeing within ChatGPT and co that ultimately lead through to actually finally getting someone through to your website. Equally, we can also see that conversion rate is still quite low, of around 0.66% across our client base. So there's still a little bit of work to do, and I'll cover this at the end, and I'll pass you over to Rena to probably chat through some more technicalities of LLMs and AI.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. Yes, I thought it would be great to cover how AI crawlers and bots can crawl and understand the website, as we all believe that it gives a good insight into what areas are important to consider when optimizing the site for traditional and AI search. So both aspects. So when it comes to the crawling the website, there are quite a few notable differences between how AI crawlers and traditional bots like Google bots understand the site. So even from the purpose perspective, we know the traditional search bots are aimed to index the web pages, to crawl and index them, whereas with LLMs and semantic search, the purpose is to collect the data, to train and improve LLMs and AI models to performance, to generate human-like text responses. So the purpose is fundamentally different. The result matching is different, whereas the traditional bots are looking at exact or partial word matches. Then the LLMs are looking for semantic similarity. Indexing itself is different. Content understanding is different, so it's much more limited from the traditional search bots. And then a very much deeper contextual understanding from LLMs. And then when it comes to page rendering, as well as Kylie mentioned, there's difference between the traditional search bots being able to support some dynamic world page rendering, whereas LLMs can only focus on very static HTML content scraping. So talking more about page rendering and going into more specific technical aspects where AI crawlers and traditional bots are differentiating. One of the most important area that Kyle again already mentioned, just to go in a little bit more into detail with, is JavaScript rendering. So JavaScript is a programming language that, just so everyone is aware, is a programming language that makes website interactive. So it controls things like menus, pop-up, forms, images, etc. So it's dynamically changing content. So Google can index JavaScript, or it claims so, but it is a little bit imperfect. Results can be delayed or incomplete. So usually Google bots are using a two-phase process. So they crawl the raw HTML, then render the JavaScript content after. So LLMs don't run or render JavaScript at all. So if your site is heavily JavaScript, the LLMs will be seeing an empty or partial content. So it's one thing to definitely consider when optimizing for future search. Another technical aspect we just mentioned, HTML. So HTML is just a basic code that builds the structure of the web page. It tells browsers and the search engines, what each part of the page is. So your headings, your paragraphs, your images, links, etc. So on the screen, you can see that there is different ways HTML code could be structured in a semantical and non-semantical way. So on the left-hand side is non-semantical, on the right-hand side is semantical. Semantic HTML is just much more descriptive and uses the tag that clearly label the meaning of the content and each part of it. It makes it easier for both AI and traditional search crawlers to understand sections, importance between the section and the relationship between that. So, as it stands, HTML is still core, an important part of your technical setup of the site. However, something to consider as additional is to whether you want your HTML to be semantical or not semantical as an additional optimization to your backend of the site. Another area which is quite an interesting and quite topical, that recently everyone talks about, is schema markup, which we all know it enables rich results on traditional SERPs. So these, there are a lot of talks and researches happening around about schema markup at the moment, just to understand whether it's actually helpful or not helpful for AI visibility. So the opinions have divided the SEO world at the moment. However, there are some basics already that we know that fundamentally can be talked about. So for instance, the difference how AI search and LLM process the schema markup data. So again, when it comes to the traditional search bots and Google Overviews as the new thing, or search AI, the way that the data retrieves and the way they crawl and pass the site is very different to how LLM does. It's quite descriptive on a screen already. It's quite a lot of text I appreciate, but basically LLM type of AI pulls the schema apart and they tokenize this as a text rather than able to pass and interpret it structurally. So with regards to effect on your AI visibility or visibility on search overall, when it comes to the AI overviews and search AI, the visibility is quite strongly supported by the schema markup availability on site. So it does help your content to be indexed, trusted, and cited in AI summaries. Whether it's come to LLM type of AIs, then it's quite weak from the effect on visibility. So it's not really directly helping your site to rank for AI search. So because it doesn't truly pass it. So next slide, just a bit of example how it works from the perspective of the process. So when the schema added to the relevant page on the site, the Google, Bing, and other search engines, with the effect of AI, read and store that schema in the structured data index or the knowledge graph. And then AI models like AI algorithms can use this schema structured knowledge graph content in order to generate the summaries. So that partially is helpful for your website performance, and it's always been recommended by SEOs to be implemented on your site for traditional search, so it still remains relevant. But maybe not as a silver bullet that's supposed to help your site rank immediately on AI visibility. So yeah, just an example here on the screen. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's just what different type of schema it could be potentially used for different types of the sites. So that you can use it depending on your website content and type of the services you provide. So just to reiterate, schema does not make LLMs to understand and rank your site better. It just instead helps search and AI retrieval to organize your content and structure the facts, and then LLM users to generate the output and the natural language response. Website structure, again, this is something that always been topical when it comes to SEO optimization for traditional search. It still remains super topical. A clear, logical, hierarchical website structure helps search engines and AI search understand, index, and resurface your content for accurately and efficiently for different queries. Additionally, it supports strongly from internal linking perspective, again, which is important for both traditional and AI search, so it makes it easier for search engines and AIs to discover related content and resurface it. So it's another technical aspect of the website to be aware of when optimizing for any search, basically. And the last but not least, of course, we're talking about the on-page content. It's always been important. Again, there's nothing new in that. It provides both search engines and AI search with the clarity and context they need to find, understand, and trust your website with. However, the approach, potentially, as Kyla mentioned, has evolved with the rise of AI search. The old focus of targeting individual keywords has shifted. I mean, again, as Kyla mentioned, the trend has started even before the AI search has appeared, but it's now still remains very topical. So today, your content should demonstrate a thorough topic mastery and clear entity relationship that both AI system and traditional search can confidently reference and relate to. And just example again on the screen of the points that needs to be covered, and EAT signals is still topical, whether it was before AI search or now. And just a quick example also to caveat in terms of informational intent and informational content being quite prominent in for AI visibility. So this is an example that covers content strategy that we've been working on for our client, even pre-AI overviews, when it was part of our SEO strategy to put more informational content to build an authority for the website from the content angle that was super relevant for them. And we could see how it's been picked up by AI overviews. So the middle screenshot is from the SEMrush and the top is from Ahrefs, so both kind of echoing the same thing, that the content that we've been publishing on for informational strategy has been resurfacing for this AI's services and have been equivalating into the good response from these. When you can see the drop is actually that removal of the parameter from Google that impressions have dropped, but this isn't actually, if you see this on your site, on your Google Search Console, it's just a standard and it's actually more accurate representation of your current data. Cool, I'll pass over back to Kylie, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, so just a couple of slides now to go through. Now Rena went through a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing on the site. As I said before, there's also a lot of things that LLMs, AI search crawlers use beyond your websites to gain information about you. So I guess it's in the same way that kind of us as humans, if we were considering buying from a new brand ourselves, it's the same process we'd go through. We might have a scroll down social media, see what people are saying about the brand, see if we can see some reviews, some real life examples of the quality in the flesh rather than brand generated images, etc. LLMs, AI search crawlers are going through that same process to find out about your site and to form an opinion and a perception of your brand, basically, to find out how they should be, what your brand is relevant to be shown for, and whether they should be showing you in a positive or negative light for all of these different search queries that they get asked. So just some areas of where Google can go to. You can see there's absolutely all sorts covering the full web. But forums, again, such as Reddit, Quora, you get all your kind of industry-specific forums as well. I know we were working with a client in the baby space, and Mumsnet was up there all the time in the search results. So anywhere like that, for each different industry, you'll know your own kind of specific forums as well that'll be more relevant for you. All your normal review places, so your Google reviews, Trust, Yelp, again, any other kind of third-party review tool that has information about your brand. All your social media, which will be kind of your brand social media, but then also wherever you're getting mentioned on social media by normal users as well. News publishers, going like mainstream publications right down to industry publications, other external sites, so the likes of Wikipedia. Have you got a Wikipedia page? Have other people added to that? How much information's on there? and then extra video content as well, which has really become more prevalent in search anyway. But YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, etc. These are all the places that LLMs are going to find information about you. So I guess you want to be looking at how you can put content out there yourselves on some of these platforms, but also how you can influence what user-generated content gets put on all of these as well. So if we go on to the next slide, I've just got a screenshot on the right, which just shows the variety of sources being shown when I've asked Gemini to tell me what they know about one of our clients, Waste Managed. So as you can see in the sources at the bottom, we've got information has been pulled into here from their own website, from a competitor website, although I think that's actually more because their brand name does get mistaken a little bit for a generic term as well. Their own LinkedIn profile, an industry publication, the government website. So you can see the variety of sources that gets pulled in. So again, this is something that you could do, I guess, for your own brand and obviously on the different LLMs as well, to see what sources they're pulling in about your own brand. So then you can see exactly where you should be trying to kind of put more content out or influence what them sites are saying about you where possible. But some tips to be able to do that would just be like engaging with the users on these forums, on these social media platforms where you can. Not always just about putting out kind of a brand page, I guess, but it's more just thinking about the different ways that you can encourage conversations on there as well from real users. I know it's been something that we've been having a lot of internal discussions on recently about Reddit and what we should be doing on there. And with something like Reddit, it's not about just spamming it with all your business content coming straight from your business page. It is a space for users to communicate. So we just want to be more thinking about ways we can encourage them conversations rather than kind of making it all branded. And then also like encouraging the reviews and responding to them accordingly. So again, thinking about a little bit of brand reputation management there. You know, if you are a company that unfortunately gets a few bad reviews, what can you do to kind of turn them around as well? Because if not Google, sorry, the LLMs and search engine crawlers, everyone starts to see them negative reviews, there's more likely they're going to build a negative perception of you. So doing what you can to manage that. And then on the next slides, we've just shown a few different data sources here that are showing kind of the top cited sources in some of the different AI search models. So this SEMrush study showing that Quora, Reddit and LinkedIn seem to be kind of the most heavily cited, whereas there's an Ahrefs study on AI overviews showing that Wikipedia and YouTube content can be most helpful in there. So it is a case of looking into which kind of platform that you're looking at optimizing for and seeing which content does better for that when you're deciding the priorities on kind of which one of these you're going to put your time into. On the next slide, I think there's some more here, and this is about who's been shown in ChatGPT. So again, favouring like higher domain authority websites in ChatGPT, being cited more, but also seeing kind of news publications as well appearing within there. And then this is, I think, the final slide that I've put in just to show you how we're currently trying to track this. This is, I guess, we can only do as much as the tools allow us at the minute, and a lot of tools to do this are still kind of in development and getting weekly updates themselves anyway. But as an agency, we have access to quite a few. This screenshot is from Ahrefs, and we also use SEMrush as well. But yeah, this is how we're kind of tracking. We can see the number of AI citations across the different AI search platforms, including Google's platforms and all the LLMs. And then we can see these as a number, but then also really drill down into seeing individual queries and the responses. So we can see kind of who else is ranked, like mentioned within there alongside us, whether we've been pulled in as an actual cited source within the answer or whether we're just a background source to provide information. We can narrow this down by country and start to see a bit of search volume as well. But as I've said, I think it is all a bit of a work in progress for the tools themselves at the minute. So definitely something we're just keeping up with as much as we can as the changes are rolled out to keep an eye on this for our clients.
That's kind of. Rena, do you want to cover key takeaways or do you want me to?
Happy for you to cover it, yeah.
Cool. So I guess from what we've talked about today, I know we've been on for roughly around just over half an hour now, but I guess there's three main things that we'd really recommend, which is to ensure a solid technical setup of your website. So this all of the schema markups, that type of thing. Have a look through them, make sure that your website is as much in HTML as possible. Again, if you need any help in checking that, I'm sure Rena, Kylie, and the team will be more than happy to do so. I think depending on what the context is of what you're trying to do, I think that informational content is really, really good to increase your AI visibility as well, particularly in AI overviews. Again, from the examples that we've had, there's been countless times where that's been really, really successful for us in the last 12 months. And I think the other thing as well is building that brand outside of your website. So again, anything you can do from a digital PR perspective, any good news stories, community forums, anything that you can message back on as well. And they're kind of the three cornerstones, which ironically is the technical content and link building that you traditionally see within SEO. So who'd have thought it? It's all the same. Other than that, I think the other thing that is quite new, which as of the 29th of September, is now in ChatGPT, and I mentioned at the start that quite a lower conversion rate. What we ultimately have now is the ability to buy for some websites in ChatGPT itself. So again, I'll share a link to this after for you all, so you can have a look through and read through yourselves. But particularly websites like Etsy now, you can actually buy in ChatGPT from their store. It is very, very new, and as I say, as of the last 2 weeks, so there's not many websites that are currently on that. But ultimately, it is something that is growing. So although we don't think that necessarily ChatGPT should be the cornerstone of your GEO campaigns right now, it's still about Google and it's still about optimizing in a similar way to what we have been. There's still a place for this. And I think in 12 months' time, we can probably book another webinar in and we'll see that it has grown a little bit more and there's a little bit more intent behind ChatGPT and the other search engines. Last but not least, I'll just pause that so you for you. What we are currently offering for everyone on the webinar today is a free AI LLM audit. So as Kylie mentioned, we are in a fortunate position that we do work with a lot of the big tools such as Ahrefs, SEMrush, and a couple more that give us real good insight and in-depth analysis into what's actually going on for your website. So if you want to see what's actually happening, what you're actually being served for in ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, any of the LLMs, or even if you just want a little bit of an audit to spot check your SEO, we're more than happy to do so. If you just email seo@modo25.com, one of the team will be in touch and we can organise connecting Search Console and Co in. Thank you very much for that. We do have a little bit of time for questions. I've got a couple in the chat already. If anybody would like to add any as well, we'll try and see to it. I think we'll probably do 5 minutes for questions, and I've got a couple now. Pop them in, and if we don't get round to it, we'll email back afterwards. So I guess the first one is, do you think AI search will eventually replace traditional search models altogether? Kylie, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I think I think we covered obviously a lot of the data earlier about how prevalent Google still is in comparison to kind of all the other platforms as well. So I think in terms of completely replacing the search model, I think it's a very, very long way to go until that happens absolutely completely. But you know, I guess we don't know how it will change in say 10, 15 years time. But yeah, it's as we've said, that's not going to be an overnight thing, and not something we foresee happening and us changing our strategies for in the near future.
Good. Cool. Another question that we've got is, how can smaller brands compete for visibility if large authoritative sites are being prioritized in the AI systems? Rena, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can try to answer this one. So I think it really depends on the type of brand and its priorities. So smaller brands might necessarily need to compete with larger publishers for every informational query because we're talking about AI search clearly focuses mainly on informational and exploratory intents, while, we're talking traditional search is still drive the majority of the transactional and navigational queries. So uh, many brands can still continue to perform well, even they're small brands for these transactional queries. I believe overall success would be coming from understanding where AI search fits in the current search landscape or the current strategy and align it with the brand's core goals and just not trying to outspace the big sites across every query type and compete with something you don't really need to.
Good.
I hope this answers the question.
No, I think it does. I think
Is it all in SEO? It's just it depends, it's our favorite answer to any question.
Of course. We do have in the chat, Tina just wanted an example or two from Kylie's last slide. So what we do have, I believe it's this one. So again, this is from Ahrefs, but what we can do from this is it basically pulls through every single query report. So what we're probably best to do is just at the end of the call, I'll probably just send you an email and we can organize looking through that at a later date. But that's what that part is. Sorry, guys. Couple more questions. Kylie, I don't know if you want to take this one, but what indicator should we monitor to know whether our AI ready SEO, whether we are AI ready for the SEO roadmap and it's delivering results?
Yeah, so I guess that that last slide that we just flicked back to a minute ago is kind of a way that we are doing this as much as possible. So yeah, we're reviewing kind of the prompts that were being surfaced for, trying to understand the reasons why. Looking, is it there? Is it our client's website being shown, or is it actually an external website talking about them? And looking at that gives us information about kind of, what needs to be on our SEO roadmap for future, like looking at whether it's, creating content for our own site or doing some PR outreach to influence what other sites are saying about us. I think we've also started tracking, we've started seeing AI traffic coming through in J4 as well. So obviously this can indicate any content that we do put out on our site with the intention of this being picked up in AI. We can start to track this and I guess how it's performing on traditional Google search compared with kind of new AI search and ChatGPT if it's appearing in there, and we're getting referrals from there as intended.
And I think just to add to that, Kylie, it's just connecting all that data in, isn't it? So like we say, it's the Ahrefs, it's the SEMrush. How many prompts are we being served for? And then connecting that in with, like you say, the GA4 accounts, which obviously Ask Bosco is super useful for. We do have a live question as well, which is right now, which has just come in, which is when do we think people will go straight to LLMs to buy without touching websites? I suppose the ultimate answer, if I from myself and Rena Kylie can answer as well, but is probably when they can negotiate a business model, ChatGPT that's suitable for them with other people. Again, I don't know how much, but they're probably getting paid per purchase from Etsy, but I think that's ultimately where it's going to come to. So I think once a couple of the bigger stores such as Etsy, eBay will be probably another good one. Amazon as well. Once they've agreed a business model, I think then it'll start to scale through. So if you were putting a gun to my head, I'd probably say probably 2, 3 years. But again, depends on what those business models looks like. Equally as well, ChatGPT could go into the paid search side of things and try and serve ads, which obviously would be a nice little revenue stream for them. So may differ. Last question that we've got here. Sorry, I'm just checking on my phone. Is Rena, do you want to take this one? But is what one thing would you prioritize right now to make your website ready for AI out of all the things that we've talked about today?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for nominating me for this question. I think I hope that this presentation overall kind of helped a little bit with understanding what needs prioritizing and our kind of key takeaways. But if, again, to think about it at the spot, I would say we need to ensure that the sites and the site content is clearly organized and descriptive with consistent and logical structure. well-defined entities and descriptive content. That's all it needs to be. So we just want to ensure that AI system and traditional search engines can accurately understand, contextualize, and reference the content in summaries or answers. So that's the ultimate goal, right?
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. I think that's all the questions that we've got, and we've just gone over quarter past, so I think we're just on time. If anyone does have any more questions, again, or would like to have a look through anything that we shared, we'll be able to send the deck out over afterwards as well for you to review, as well as potentially the recording. But yeah, thank you very much for all attending. Hopefully you found it interesting, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.